right, we are live. What's up, everybody in YouTube world? You are watching the behind the scenes of the Smoke Ring Syndicate. We're ready to get started. I've got Rob Arocha of Bullhorn Barbecue with us today, and here we go. What's up, guys? Wes, the People's Pitmaster, back again with another episode of the Smoke Ring Syndicate. It's my weekly barbecue podcast that drops every Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Last week, we went around the world and back with squirrel cooking. This week, we've got Rob Arocha of Bullhorn Barbecue. You may have seen him on the Food Network recently. Let's dive into it. Rob, are you there?
I am. What's going on? How you doing, Wes?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Just getting started this morning. Was moving a little bit slow, but we're into it.
Beautiful.
So you're out of Texas, right?
All right.
You froze up on me, Rob. You're frozen.
Oh my gosh. Am I back?
You're back.
All right. Right outside of Houston, called Cypress, Texas.
Okay, Cypress, Texas. So your Bullhorn Barbecue. What do you do currently with Bullhorn Barbecue? Is it just competing, or are you catering?
We started doing some catering, but generally now it's just straight barbecue competitions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're not a full-time barbecue guy, right?
You mean no? I have a 9-to-5 job, but this is a side gig, if you will.
I got you. So let's walk through the beginning of what got Rob into barbecue.
Sure. Started out, I had a big group of friends that we would compete at one big, huge contest down here in Texas, and we would only do it once a year. But when we did do it, we'd go all out with it. We'd had 10 spaces that we would purchase and use, and so we had 10 entries, and this was a big group. But at the time, we were just kind of getting into barbecue. But the guys that were running it, they did all the meat entries, the chicken, the ribs, and the brisket. So they didn't allow me to actually cook any of that stuff. We just did an ancillary, a seafood ancillary. And so that was my first introduction to barbecue. And after a while, me and my buddy that was on that team, we decided to break off and try our own thing with barbecue. We wanted to cook the meats. And so we broke off and started Bullhorn Barbecue, because at the time I was a big Texans tailgater, and we were called Bullhorn Tailgaters. So it was just naturally that we went to Bullhorn Barbecue. And that's what, and honestly, watching the first renditions of the Barbecue Pitmaster show, that really intrigued, because they were just setting up with a tent, and then they were just, a one-man team, sometimes a two-man team, and they would just set up with a tent and a pit and go out and compete. And that's what we wanted to do, because at the time what we were doing was just a big, huge party, and thousands of people would show up at our deal, and the competition was just a kind of an afterthought, not so much what we were after. But once we started Bullhorn Barbecue, me and my buddy, we really focused on the meats, and that's how we got started.
Okay, cool. So any aspirations to go like on a full-time basis into barbecue, or do you love your 9-to-5? And what is your 9-to-5, by the way?
I work in the crane industry. I work for a company called Tadano America. So no, I do love what I do. As far as my job, it's allowed me to go and do barbecue, because they're real supportive of what I do. But as far as a full-time gig, I don't know. It would be nice. We have some goals down the line that maybe would allow something like that. We host a show kind of like yours on Wednesdays at 8:00 called the So Smoking Gooder Show, and we talk, doing kind of like what you do right here. We do a live show, and we bring people on and whatnot. And so that's maybe an avenue to possibly do something more with that, with just barbecue.
Okay, so the one event a year turns into how many a year? Would you say?
Last year, I think we did like 36 events out of the 52 weeks. So we're
So,
pretty hot
so
and we're pretty hot and heavy doing
yeah,
barbecue.
so more than half.
Yeah.
The very first event you said it was just a one time a year. What event will we know it? Is it like the Houston Livestock or?
No, it's called the Texas Association of First Responders. It's still a thing. It's still around, and we still compete it. Um, yeah, Texas Association of First Responders, better known
Okay.
as TAFR. It's a big
Mhm.
contest still down here.
Yeah, I'm semi familiar with that one.
Mhm.
Just because you're right outside of Houston, I was like, it's got to be Houston Livestock.
Yeah,
So I would have lost that bet. Um,
yes,
do you guys do Houston Livestock as well, or
we
just
do.
two?
We compete. I don't know if you're familiar with how difficult it is if you don't already have a spot is to get into Houston. You really have to know somebody to they don't give spots away anymore.
No.
People will those to their children and grandchildren. That's how coveted those spaces are. But if you are well known in barbecue or you're doing well, then maybe a team that has a space will
Mhm.
invite you to come cook for them. And that was the case with us. We this will be our second year competing at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Last year we competed with a team called Half Fast Cookers. They reached out and they they're longtime friends of mine, but they were like, hey, we want you to come cook at our tent. And so we did. We went out there last year and competed and did pretty well. We got to walk the stage with them or for them with a second place open. So we're hoping to build on that this year. That was our first year at Houston, and to get to walk that stage was special for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the big ones out there in Texas. I've got several friends and associates that have made that trip to cook in association with some of these other big teams.
Yeah, that one is obviously well known. It's a major, right? You got the Royal, Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, Memphis in May, and the Jack. But yeah, that is a very special one.
Yeah. So have you hit all of those the big well known ones that everybody
I've done
knows?
the Royal with Bullhorn, and we've with Half Fast we did Houston. I did go and compete with a couple of teams in Memphis, so I got to experience that. That's a little out of my budget for. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know how much that is to compete at Memphis in
Uh-huh.
May. The Jack have not yet. That's one of our goals to get to the Jack.
Yeah, you gotta get to the holler. We were part of the vending crew back in 19, and in true the Jack fashion, we got poured on, and now they've
Yes.
moved it. And literally, the first year they moved it, it was like gorgeous weather, and I was like, I'm so jealous because we
Yeah,
just
I'm familiar with the weather there. It always seems to be muddy and
yeah
wet. So
yeah I know. I was not prepared for that kind of not prepared for that kind of weather. Um, we knew we might get some rain, but I mean, we had a gully washer. I mean, lost a tent. Bent the frame up and the whole nine.
what did you like about the Jack experience?
Um, Probably just how big of a competition it was. It's probably one of the largest competitions I've ever been to. And you got all the big guys there that you don't normally see. Week to week, at least here in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So competing, you're doing more than half the year. You're doing competitions. Are you traveling far outside of Texas, or is it just kind of? I mean, Texas is in a world of its own, but I mean, are
Yeah,
you doing anything out of
if
state?
I do talk to people outside of Texas, and they do travel, across state lines to go to a lot of competitions. We don't need to do that here in Texas. We've got a
Yeah,
competition, pretty much down the road every weekend, or the competition or 15 you can really choose from down here in Texas. I have competed at, like I said, Memphis. I've competed at Kansas. We've gone to Mississippi to do some things. We do go to Georgia once a year. In fact, I'll be going back there in October. not for so much a competition, but I'll be going up there with Rec Tech. I'm an instructor for Rec Tech Academy, so we'll
Hmm.
be up there coming up in October. I think it's the 18th weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do travel with Bullhorn Barbecue. We love to go out there and get outside of Texas and meet other people and do some things. So yeah, it's we've been to Oklahoma as well competing. It's we like to spread our wings a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause I didn't know if you guys were like living on the road.
No, no, we used to only cook here in Houston, man, because there's like I said, there's a contest all the time in this area.
Yeah.
But here in the last 4 years or so, we have ventured outside of Houston. You go to Houston's his own little thing. You got your set of teams down here that are really good. But if you
Hmm.
go to like Central Texas, they got another set of teams that are like really good. You go down to South Texas, there's a whole nother set of teams that are also really, really good. So
Yeah.
whenever like the San Antonio rodeo comes around, then everybody from all parts of Texas gather. In Houston is kind of similar, but San Antonio is a real pit masters competition to where
Yeah.
all the top teams in Texas generally compete at San Antonio. And so that's that is a major in my opinion. That the people need to talk about that one as a major. But that's where all the regions of Texas really converge at the San Antonio rodeo, and it's a knockdown drag out. It's a lot of fun down there.
Yeah. That's
That's one you should really put on your bucket list as well to go down there, because that is a great time. It's really inviting. You don't, if you go to Houston, like your buddies had mentioned, everything is an invite party, right? So every tent is invite. You have to know somebody just to walk in the tent. San
yeah.
Antonio is a different animal. San Antonio is open, basically. There's a few private parties, but for the most part, it is a open uh, venue, open party. So
Yeah.
that's one I think you should put on your bucket list to go check out.
Yeah. That's I had had the opportunity to go down with Carlo Casanova a couple of
Hmm.
years ago, and my day job got in the way. But so that didn't happen. But I would imagine, just based off what you're saying, I probably could just make the trip.
Yeah, if it was a couple years ago with Carlo, I was in that group, so we would have
Yeah.
met then.
All right. Well, that's what when I first started talking to you, I was
Hmm.
like, I've seen this guy's name before. I
Yeah,
know I've seen this guy's name. I've probably talked to him before in passing or something. And then I saw, uh, I think it was like an old Rec Tech Academy group that I'm in.
yeah.
And I was like, because I went to the very first Rec Tech Academy. And
Okay,
so
nice.
you see, I follow those guys. And I was like, that's where I've seen this guy's
Yeah,
name. And I was
that's
like, yeah, I think he used to run around with Carlo, I think.
yep, I sure do, sure did. Yeah, that first Rec Tech Academy is legendary. Where y'all were out on that field
Yeah.
and or in
Yeah.
that amphitheater park, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That was I I got the invite to come down just with Ernest and Carlo and everybody else and Atlanta Barbecue Store and all that, and hung out. And Carlo and Ernest were my bunk mates. We won't talk about any kind of snoring problems amongst the three of us, but we had a
Right,
fantastic weekend,
great,
and it was a hell of a lot of fun
absolutely, it
for
is.
sure. So let's get into what kind of teed me into reaching back out and linking up with you is seeing you on TV.
Mm.
You had just the slight cameo there.
Yeah, I wasn't
Um,
one of the featured teams by no means. Yeah, the barbecue USA with the Food Network that's airing right now on Mondays at I think it's 9 o'clock Central Time, so 10 o'clock Eastern. But yeah, it's great. They came down here, and if you guys are familiar with that show, they're highlighting each at each different contests are highlighting a different set of teams. We
yeah,
were not one of the featured teams at the time, but we could see them walking around and they were filming around and doing their thing, and it was really neat to watch from afar to see
yeah,
that happen, because I've watched the shows and I knew what the show was about and all of that. But yeah, I was sitting with my wife and I was like, man, I wish maybe we can get on this thing, in
yeah,
passing or whatnot. But I told her, I was like, if we want to get on, we got to do something big. And it was a Uvalde contest, Briscoe Ranch Cook-Off at the Crossroads. There was 150 teams out there, and thankfully, luckily, we were blessed with a first place chicken, which was a perfect score. We were the only perfect scoring chicken that day, and so they were definitely they were cameras are all on us, and so we got that little, I don't know, probably 3-second cameo they showed us walking to get that first place deal, and so that was really cool, and that was really neat, and it's always fun to see your buddies and your people that you compete against, your competitors, your fellow competitors, get the spotlight, and just for us to have that little moment was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said it airs on this time at this time. Is that an obligation that you've got to share that every time you say?
No,
or?
I want to share. Anybody that's out there pushing competition barbecue is good for the sport of barbecue. And
Right.
Nick over with Barbecue USA, and he's got a podcast called Barbecue 321. They're doing great work in supporting us by showcasing what we do each and every week. Because a lot of people question, why are you going to another contest? Don't you get bored and doing all this? And we love doing that. It's a form of competition. Some people use it as therapy. Some people, people have different reasons to going out and cooking each and every week. But for somebody to go out there, or some show, Food Network, to go out there and showcase what we do, no obligation. I just love pushing people that support us as well, because to see that, more of that, it will help us grow and maybe get, I saw, what was it that I saw? Bags. What's it? Cornhole. ESPN's covering cornhole.
Yes.
Who would have thought, right? So why not barbecue, right? Let's see what's some stuff out there.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about the cornhole, and I was like, because I watched, different sports on TV, and before I was like, oh, you can tell he's a bowler. He's got the bowler, he's an athlete in bowling, and you have that image in your head, and now you got, oh, he's a professional cornhole guy, and you're like, that is the picture of athleticism. I'm every time I see it, I'm getting closer and closer to being an athlete myself watching that.
Exactly. You got that arc, and you can slide that bag. You're good.
Yeah. Well, and can you drink beer? I watched one of the interviews, one of the top guys, and he was like, "Yeah, I started drinking about 6:30 this morning. I got to get a couple in before I start throwing the bags." And I'm like, "Holy crap! Yeah, they put this guy on TV."
That's the way to do it, man. Let's go.
Cow, man. So you had the show Cameo. No, anybody else reaching out? Anything in the future that we can see?
Not as of yet, but if anybody's listening, let's go. We're interested. But yeah, hopefully there'll be a season 3, and there'll be a new sets of teams that they get featured, and maybe hopefully we'll be one of those teams. You never know.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting. I'm gonna pause right here just 1 second. I have a question come in, and you may be able to help me, may not. You can kind of mull this over and think about it. Any barbecue competitions in Illinois or Wisconsin that you can think of as far as attendance or eating purposes? World Snack is asking through YouTube.
Not that I'm aware of. That's a little further north than where I'm at.
Okay. I was sorry about that, buddy. So I just completely lost my train of thought. Holy cow. What was I just talking about?
We're talking about the opportunities of another show, and then you had the question come through.
Yeah, competition. Oh my gosh. I shouldn't have paused, huh?
You're good, bro.
Well, this is what you get for watching YouTube behind the scenes, guys.
Exactly. Live, baby, live.
Live. We'll do it live, right? So we've got the competitions. Nothing that's really working per se. Oh my gosh, this is As soon as we get out of here, I'm just going to completely remember exactly what I wanted to talk to you about.
That's all right, Bubba. That's okay. Like I said, this is live and you can edit this for podcast.
And we will certainly be doing some editing here. I just completely spaced on that. So nothing new from that. And we've got um, they're going to be following, possibly following new teams with competition barbecue. It's a big thing for you, and a lot of people got into competition barbecue because of the Pitmasters TV show.
Sure.
And then we kind of had like a big resurgence of barbecue, and then it kind of died down a little bit. And then the Netflix barbecue show came out. I don't want to butcher their name. What American Barbecue Showdown?
Yeah,
They're
that's
on
what it was.
season 3 now.
Yeah, season 3.
So, and now the Food Network's picked barbecue back up, and we're going back up again. Um, what do you think? Is there just a lull in that from TV that they just go, okay, well, it's time to do barbecue again, or is barbecue in the competition world growing again, and that's the reason that they're jumping in and doing more barbecue shows?
I feel that's the reason. Barbecue down here is not taking a lull at all. In fact, I'm seeing a influx of teams that are coming into the scene right now, and so down here we're seeing a boom in barbecue. We're seeing a lot of new teams come in. We're seeing a lot of fresh faces. We're seeing a lot of good strong teams that are doing well out there. So I think barbecue is just hard to ignore, especially if you're a Food Network, right? If you're talking food and that's your thing, then yeah, you can't ignore what we're doing as a group down here all across America with barbecue. And people love the barbecue, man. In 2020, COVID hit, and you see more and more people that got into smoking meats and grilling at home and doing like that. So there was a big boom just doing that for sure, like a huge boom. So these shows that are coming around talking type of grilling competitions, and like you got that barbecue brawl, but then barbecue USA. I think it's just a natural for what they've seen with the growth of barbecue, that they go in there and start trying to film it and put it out there for people to really see it. And we're going to see another boom, like guys like myself and other people that got into from barbecue pitmasters. You're going to see a lot of teams come in just by watching barbecue USA, and you're going to see another growth. So like you mentioned, so I'm excited about the sport of where it's at right now for sustainability and growth.
Yeah, well, and having Bobby Flay, Michael Simon, and all these big Food Network stars that are
Eddie
big
Jackson,
barbecue
that's
folks.
our boy down here. He lives here in Cyprus. Eddie Jackson.
Oh yes, Eddie Jackson. I completely forgot about him. So, question for you, and I've been tiptoeing talking about this with a couple of different guests. When you go to a competition as a competitor or as a judge, there's something for you to do. Here in Georgia, our GBA or MBN is kind of this area's sanctioning bodies. I kind of feel like the way a competition is set up, it's almost not necessarily fan friendly. Do you think you guys have more fan friendly competitions? And if not, what could we do to invite more people in? Because the more people that come in, the more people that want to barbecue, and thus the sport grows.
Yeah, we see a lot. So a lot of our competitions, and I'm sure it's the same way across America, they're charity driven. So a lot of the people that put these on have a goal that they're trying to accomplish, and there's a charity that they're trying to support. So a lot of the promoters, it's on them to really provide an event that is fan friendly, that people want to come in and not so much see the barbecuers, but go out there and see what they have going on. So yeah, a lot of these contests are centered around auctions, fundraisers, bands, a lot of that. So we do see a lot of festivals down here to where we're just a portion of what's going on. And, they tie them in. what you said, what can they do to do something like that? We're seeing a lot of car shows down here that are tied in
Yeah.
with barbecues. We're seeing a lot of cornhole tournaments that are tied in with barbecue. So they've got a lot of different venues or a lot of different avenues to get people to draw them in.
Hmm.
People maybe car enthusiasts, people maybe barbecue people maybe want to go support their teams that are throwing the bags out there. So um, I see what you're saying. We don't have too many like People's Choice Awards to where people can go and sample
Yeah.
barbecue. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. But as a competition cook, you got these guys that are just straight there just to they don't even mess with ancillaries, right? They go and they cook the meats,
Yeah.
they go to awards, they find out how they did, and then they get the heck out of there. So
Yeah.
um it's tough. You're gonna have some teams that would like to participate in that, and then you maybe that's a question where you put on your order or your entry form if they
Yeah.
want to support something like that. Because I would like to see a little more fan participation or public participation walking through
Yeah.
a contest.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I kind of felt like it was probably pretty much across the board because just the way everything is timed out, your turn in times, by the time most of the general public's rolling out of bed to come down, pretty much everything's done. And I'm like, well, what could you do to make it more interactive? I mean, like
Hmm.
to not necessarily that you're, your dog and pony show, but like give somebody another reason to come. Like, yeah, you're coming for the live music, but like you're coming for the live music, but all you're doing is smelling barbecue.
Right. Yeah. You could
And
have some maybe barbecue vendors out there to that that if that's because they are you're right, they're going to be smelling the barbecue, so maybe some barbecue vendors.
yeah.
I am seeing we have a group down here called PHA, and they do a petting zoo. They've got like alpacas out here, so it's
Mhm.
fun for families. They can go out there
Yeah.
and see these alpacas and pet them and do that. So people
And
are getting real creative
yeah.
on how they can bring people in.
Yeah, I almost wonder if you changed your timing, like your turn in times, like the turn in times have been the turn in times, and like people are handing down their timeline of how they do, how they cook in this competition or that. But I think just altering that would change the public interaction. I got to talking to Joe Wilson, who does the World Squirrel Cook-Off Championship up
Yeah.
in Arkansas, and I talked to him about it just briefly, and he's like, "Well, ours is a little more interactive," but I was like, "I think his is a little bit more interactive than barbecue because you can buy barbecue." And you've had barbecue, you had pork, you've had chicken, you've had steak, you've had brisket, but you haven't had squirrel. So maybe that's his angle on why he gets more family or more fan interaction. Um, I wonder if there's a path to either create or alter a competition that would make it more fan friendly or more fan interactive even.
The squirrel thing sounds interesting to me. I want to. I hope that goes well for him.
He is in his 10th year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, he is in, I think he said 10 or 11 years now. He said he said he's had people as far as Finland come to compete
That's crazy.
to cook squirrels. And
That's
I was
great.
like,
Glad to hear that.
yeah, I said, well, how do you judge what's, because you cook a Wagyu brisket or you cook a choice brisket. Those are two different, breeds. A squirrel's a squirrel, right? And he's like,
Squirrel's a squirrel.
no. And he set me straight on which squirrels are the best ones to eat. If you'd like to know, I'll tell you off air. I don't
All
like to
right,
share
sounds good.
secrets.
Sounds
He's,
good.
you some people eat the Angus, the Angus squirrel, but that's not the one to eat. So,
All right, good to know.
man, man, I've had a great time hanging out with you. Go
Absolutely.
ahead and give me your podcast again and the name of your team and where they can find you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so we do a barbecue show each and every Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central. We broadcast on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch, and we do live. It's a true live show that we bring people in. And like I said, it's called the So Smoking Gooder Show. You can find it on all your podcast formats, but Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So Smoking Gooder Show. And again, I appreciate you letting me plug that. But yeah, that we're 6 years in on that as well. We've
Wow.
been doing that show for a while. We've had some great guests on there, and we talk barbecue. We promote the sport of barbecue, kind of like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Anybody that's out there trying to do that, I appreciate it, and we're one of those as well, trying to do that to promote the sport of barbecue, like your show right here is doing. So I appreciate that as well, Wes. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun talking with you, man.
Absolutely. And it's Bullhorn Barbecue. Rob Arocha?
Arocha, yeah, Bullhorn Barbecue.
Arocha. Rob Arocha?
Yep.
Out of Cypress, Texas.
Yeah,
Man, I appreciate you hanging out with me, and we'll catch you next time, and I'll let you know when I'm in town.
sounds good, Wes. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. See you, buddy.
Mm-hmm.